distraction. I'm only coming on here for like about 20 minutes live. Just got through doing some topics. So, um, you come on, I'm just gonna tell you. I like to see Kansas City win. AFC do. Get to see Mahomes get it. If Frisco wins, they win. Brock Purdy, and that means Brock Purdy played out his mind. Because I don't really think that one defense or the other is necessarily going to be. But if I had to go by defense, it's Kansas City. But whoever running the ball, just basic fundamental things. So all you can do is hope for a good game. You know. But again, like I said before, being real, I don't have 100 in it either way. But I wouldn't mind if Mahomes won. Like to see the brother get his chip. Another one. Interesting way to put him. They would be a dynasty then with 3 rings in 4 years. But anyway, so yeah, Usher's performance. That's gonna be a thing for some. Some it will, some it won't. It all depends on which way you coming. But anyway, if nobody don't show up here, I'll just be on here for like 10 minutes. I'm not expecting a lot of heads to come through because I know it is the day. If anybody comes through, what's up? Okay, what's up? What's up, T? What's happening? I'll be on here now for about probably like a half hour. I'll do a half hour today. I'm gonna cut it kind of short because I gotta go cook and chill. But yeah, if you want to, chop it up, let's talk. What's up? What's on your mind? Feel free to put it down. I just did some videos. I talked about Sony Music buying Michael Jackson half of his catalog for 600 million, which is crazy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, I don't even know where that's coming from. He's not even the first white dude to have that. But they're trying to make this into something that, you know, thank you. Thank you. I definitely told you I was going to do that and got some more videos coming loop. Yeah, I mean, I feel it was important. I don't think that people get enough to talk about black MVPs back to back, especially quarterbacks. You know, if it was black running backs or receivers, they don't say nothing, but they're the quarterbacks. So I definitely don't want that to escape because we're not that far along. We're not that progressive enough. And they still hate on them both in different ways. They hate Mahomes is winning and he's a threat in the conversation, and they hate Lamar because of his style. So yeah, I mean it ain't nothing new. So I remember the story Quincy Jones was talking to Bobby Brown because Bobby had that Gumby for every little step I take, and it was cut that way. And then the story goes Quincy Jones pulled out a picture from 1930 something and showed it to Bobby Brown. Said ain't nothing new, and there really ain't. If you wanted to use a cross racial person, Groucho Marx was rocking that, but there is nothing new with these dudes. John Turturro, the actor who been in a lot of Spike Lee movies along with his brother Nick, if you remember the movie Jungle Fever, he was rocking, you know, fade, curly fade, kind of like how MC Search did from third base. White boys and all of them been rocking. Ain't nothing new, ain't nothing new. So, but anyway, it's nothing new. Nothing new on the sun. So did Tide Bridges too. So did Tide Bridges because they had what I call them neck hair lines. It's like they neck, like the way their hair shape was. You had to like kind of, but only Carl Weathers and Tide Bridges had that. He did. Patrick almost had like a broke Larry Blackman fade, but brother's been doing that forever. Now the coldest one in the NBA that I ever saw was Kenny Skywalker. His fade was cold. His was cold. Scotty had one. Nothing new. Cats was rocking that look back then. But, I tell you, they don't miss a beat. They don't miss a beat. Let Kelsey be great and acknowledge him as one of the greatest tight ends, but don't give him no band-aid for rocking something that's been around forever and a day. Come on now. If you're white and you want to impress me, rock a S curl, which I did see 30 years ago, ironically. There was a white boy who had a Lester curl. I never forgot it. And the neighborhood was cracking up because this dude had a Jerry, he had a curl. It was a Lester one. It was crack me up. That's what's up. Yeah, I kid you not. That was hilarious. And I told you every time I come on here, I got some funny story. We start talking about hairdos and stuff, and yeah, I never forget that. That was like big news in my old block for like 2 weeks. This white dude with this Lester curl and was rocking some jewelry, some sterlings. Sir, I'm like, who is this cat? And it was hilarious. You'd be surprised what the great lengths they go to. And for a country that don't really love black folks, they sure love the jack stuff. I tell you, and they do. Well, you remember when Timberlake and they always rocked the rocked the braids, and they had the twist. You remember Timberlake had the twist, but Instinct Chris Kirkpatrick had the twist. You know they go through their black splangage, because black splangage is what Kelsey he went through his black splangage. You know, so they might be watching this show. They might be watching this show. Well, that ain't no calling Dan Overlowski a scrub actually is an insult because he was a never was. I mean, he's like I don't really remember his career. I don't even think they got any YouTube tape. I never, and I've never even bothered to remember when he's with the Lions. That's the part. First of all, let's be 100. If you were a quarterback for the Detroit Lions, you already suck. And you were backup, you stunk. And if you were third string, yeah, so may as well have been the hot dog man or the beer man. I mean, come on now. But Mad Dog wasn't gonna lie to him, and who wouldn't call him that? I mean, what's up? Yeah, I don't. I seen her, and actually, I think she's hollering at Mahomes' brother. That's what I've been told. But I ain't really. I just don't want the whole thing. Him getting some credit for something that we been had out. But I mean, I'm not even trying to entertain this mess. They desperate for entertainment. They looking for clicks and views. You know. Yeah, I saw it too, but I ain't make no big deal about it. I'm not gonna do no video about it. Could care less. I'm not really into all that. If I talk about you personally, you got to be of an interesting source. It's got to be a real story, and it's got to be something. There's some things I don't go into. I don't. I try to kind of not veer there. I mean, yeah, you can't kind of help some stories, but then there's some things I'm not gonna touch. Like I'm not touching anything else about Jonathan Majors unless we talk about it here on the live stream. He should be because I'm gonna tell you why. Well, there's two things at work. One hand, he's talking like an angry. He's talking like an older brother. But the other thing is this, and I heard Mike Epps turned him down. He keep getting people to regurgitate the Hollywood pipeline of older black entertainers, which is kind of old. And I think he's catching some hate because of how successful he is with his skilled podcast and how he connects. But he's gonna get some backlash because some people don't really think he's a real journalist. So he's gonna definitely catch some flack for, you know, they want him to just be a comment. They want him to kind of like commentate with Stephen A. or maybe go at it with Mad Dog or Molly. But he's really on his business. What I read on the body language with him, and I might do a video about that. I might talk about what I see. Him and Stephen A. are, they are what I call cohorts working together. But it's you're good for my business, you're good for my brand thing. Um, there is no flirty or any chemistry with him and Molly. It's kind of like business. Him and Mad Dog are interesting, but Mad Dog is really into his old mindset. But it's a different kind of raw edge there. It's not like him and Skip work well off each other, for better or for worse. He doesn't have that at ESPN, but he doesn't have to, because they got him in as a freestyle. Yeah, I already saw that though. He hated on him in the 80s too because Kareem stood him up in 82. Yeah, I already saw that. I've been note about that. And I did. I remember Woody Page came on around the horn a long time ago and said I never gave him a break with anything. That was some real hate for Kareem. Well, I don't even have to read it. I can tell by how many job offers he's had, how many general manager jobs he's had, how many broadcasting opportunities he's had. You can pretty much count them on your two hands, you know. So they don't want him in their clique, and you know that's unfortunate. But you know, yeah, he checked them, but see, Sherm likes the spotlight too much. I think if Sherm had a won that ring with Seattle, and then definitely won that ring with San Francisco, he'd have had three rings. I think he don't even touch TV. Skip would have to kiss his ring, but because it was two choke jobs, two games with 10-point come from behinds between Mr. Brady and Mr. Mahomes, he really ain't got no room. And he's trying to also clean up his image because he had that little run in near Seattle a couple of years ago. So I'm just saying. So Sherm ain't trying to act like a Sherm. I'm just saying. But we know he could take Skip out any way he want to as far as on the field. But yeah, and that show is lackluster. I mean, Sherm, Keyshawn, Michael Irvin. I'm like, come on. But Sherm might be the more interesting of the three, if you want my honest opinion. Because Keyshawn is more of a sidekick to the sidekick, and Michael Irvin is just too high and happy for his own good. So I'm not really feeling all that. But it's whatever. Yeah, yeah. And I did a video where I said I feel like Shaq. I don't want Steph to retire. I just love watching him play. I didn't even really talk about the Draymond and KD thing, but if you KD and you see Steph, I don't care what you say, you had it good. You had it good. And even though you got a better record than them, they 500. If they get in the playoffs, a legitimately playoff team, Steph's got to be get MVP consideration. He hit a clutch shot. He's gotten better. I mean, he's scary. 10 years later, so you know they got robbed against the Lakers, but they still 500. And I think they're gonna be a problem with Kamingas and him. All he need is one person to step up and get a couple stops, and they could be a problem. People don't know how great Steph is. He's polarizing because he's stepping on toes. When you come after Magic Johnson, you stepping on toes. When you got people debating you, you stepping on toes. And that's what I love about him. Because you ain't seen nothing like him. You got a lot of imitators, but they can't duplicate him. There is more to him just shooting long shots. He gets results. You think I'm lying, ex Dame. Seth, somebody was clowning Seth. Someone said, I was on some like they were talking about Seth is trying to catch Patrick Beverly rocking jerseys. Yeah, he is. Seth is just an I player, just I. He had a couple decent moments with Portland, a couple here and there. He was just I. You know, it's unfortunate that the genes don't work in the family the same. You know, he can play at a pro level, but he just I. He had a couple okay moments in the past, but I ain't say he was a scrub. But he ain't as good as his daddy was. Daddy could Dale could pop. Seth is streaky. He decent. He can keep a job. That's all I can say with that. But the cat is rocking a lot of jerseys. He's starting to get into that Jeremy Lin, Patrick Beverly mode. Gonna be rocking, you know. I'm just saying. I think he alright. If you know what alright mean, he alright. I'm just saying, alright, alright. I'm not, you know. I ain't say he was a scrub. I ain't call him a bum. He alright. He falls in the alright. That means he'll keep a job. But I ain't gonna compare him to his daddy. He was his daddy. He'd have had about no more than two stops tops. Dad could shoot. You know, so it's a tough last name to live up to. It's not fair. So anyway, yeah. But anyway, glad to see Steph hit that big shot, and I'm impressed. I mean, the guy, you know, he going off lately too. So well, there is some truth to that. I mean, I don't think that he got everything out of his system as a quarterback, and I definitely felt he choked that Super Bowl against New England. I mean, you know, he that's what Tio was getting after him about was his work attitude. You know, and then when he went to Washington, he laid an egg. He just went, well, if you're Andy Reid, I mean, Andy Reid is in four Super Bowls now with Patrick Mahomes, so he went to one with Donovan McNabb, so he kind of forgotten about him, and he probably don't. He probably can laugh at it. I mean, you think about it. There was a lot of people who felt that way about Donovan McNabb. A lot. They thought he was the reason why they didn't win. So that's not nothing new. I remember it on good authority back then. A lot of them weren't even mad at T.O. They just didn't think McNabb put the work in. And he did come up short. But I can't say he was, I'm not going to call him a bum. And I'm not going to say he was a scrub. He just was one of those guys that was, I'm not going to call him a bum because to be a bum would have meant he could have had greatness. He could have been good, very good, really good. I didn't ever feel he was great. He did have four AFC championships. No, not a no because he never had a receiver. That's the and you want my honest opinion. That's what keeps him from being a bum. They treated him like a Negro. He never had a top flight receiver. Ashley Crump don't count at your tight end. He needed to have a top tier receiver. He didn't get Julio Jones like Matty Ice Ryan did. Now, give Michael Vick Julio Jones and let's have this conversation. Okay? Let's have this conversation with Julio Jones. He didn't get that. Thank you. A very old Joe Horn. And Joe Horn pulled out his cell phone back when they were flip phones and the phone didn't work. I mean, come on. But no, he didn't get a top flight receiver, so I can't hold it again. That's why I don't. Now you can say he underachieved as far as reading on the field at times, yes, and that he rode the wave of his athleticism, yes. But to say that he had the best tools around him, no, no. That's the one of the reasons why I won't say that about him. He's one of the most talented quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life. Period. To this day, Cordell Stewart ain't in the argument though. Problem with Cordell is that they Negrofied him. He had to run, punt, pass, catch, receive, and all that. He wasn't a pure quarterback, so he's not in that same argument. I mean, he was a talented athlete, but he ain't the same as Warren Moon. Warren Moon was a pure quarterback who could move, but he was a pure quarterback. He had Art Monk and Gary Clark, but Doug went to the playoffs with Jimmy Giles and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, lost 9-0 to the Rams in 1979. That was 3 years from being an expansion team. Back when an expansion team was a real expansion team, not the stuff that the Jacksonville Jaguars and some of these other teams end up being. So Doug proved his case. You know, I saw all these guys, and you know, but Doug was bad. Yeah, our Monk was bad, but Doug that Super Bowl against Denver, he just put on a clinic. Monk or no Monk, that passes he threw were I was a grown man. So, but I hold people in different regards. I mean, it's different scenarios. Well, underrated. I mean, they can be running backs that were successful, but I can still consider them underrated. I think Marcus Allen is underrated and he doesn't get the due he should have gotten. I'll make a case that Tony Dorsett, because when I say underrated, yeah, they were successful and they won, but they're not ever mentioned as amongst the greatest of the greats. But if you want me to really, 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 really go there, I got one better than Eddie George because I know you love some Eddie George. I'm going to tell you his name, who I would say, oh, I just had him on my mind. Now I can't say Dexter Bussey because he was all right. Chuck Foreman could make a strong case, but I was going to say who else can I pick on that I would say fall into that? Roger Craig is underrated. He was the dual guy. He was a precursor to everything Marshall Falk and all these cats do. You know, you can make a case Edrin James is kind of because he doesn't get came same mention. Well, I'd say O.J. Anderson before I say Hampton, but Hampton was all right. I think O.J. Anderson never got his full due for the Giants. He was a bad boy. Um, Joe Morris to an extent for me for the Giants too, to an extent. Oh, Billy Sims. That's who I was gonna say. Billy Sims. Billy Sims was bad for Detroit. Bad. You know, there are some cats that, again, you have to be a football fan. Go back. Billy Sims was a bad boy. Matter of fact, a buddy of mine back in the day, we used to always get into it about because I was a Marcus Allen dude and he was a Billy Sims dude. And I said, look, but I did love Billy Sims. He went to the USFL. He was a bad boy, bad boy. So you know, so yeah. Um, those come to mind. He did, he did, he did. There gonna be some guys that kind of jar my memory for different reasons, but there are some great ones who I consider are underrated because they don't get talked about. You know, Kurt Warren has been kind of forgotten. Kurt Warren, Warren for Chris Warren. Who comes to mind? Because talk about overrated is easy. Underrated. Let me think. I gotta put my thinking cap on. Steve DeBerg is one of them. Now he be considered a second tier guy, but he had some moments. DeBerg was nice. Kansas City. DeBerg was DeBerg would be considered underrated. I would say because I got a run scare. Now he was alright. He was alright. I wasn't blown away by him. You got to know that when Burrow came along, Burrow broke a lot of their records. That means it tell me that Cincinnati quarterback, yeah, Brian Saper, a lot of Cincinnati quarterbacks didn't really do a lot of passing. They weren't that distinctive. Brian Sape's a good choice. I have to kind of think about who I want to mention. Jim Plunkett. Jim Plunkett, who got the two rings with the Raiders, he never gets no love. And I know it was late in his career, but those were he came up big, so you can take that however you want. Um, who else would I pick on? Um, I'll tell you a funny story. I was on Facebook, and some turkey said Danny White was the best quarterback to never win the Super Bowl, and I cracked up. Even though, in his defense, he's got more deeper postseason run than Tony Romo and Dak Prescott put together. But it was still hilarious, though. It was hilarious. Thank you. Danny White threw them wounded duck passes. His passes would get your neck tore off. Clothesline central. Yeah, you'd be surprised at some of the stuff on Facebook. People be putting up some crazy. One of them said Deion Sanders was the most overrated player ever. I'm like, what? I mean, some of them people, I don't know if they trolling or they on drugs and healing. I don't know what they be doing. They be saying some crazy stuff. Yup. Yeah, if you get a chance, you be on there. You'll see some of the football takes. I think some of it is racial too, because I think some of it they just be. Yeah. But I want to know who they drug deal is. I need some of them drugs. Some of them things I be seeing, I'm like, yeah, okay. Um, Dan Fouts is actually becoming underrated. Yeah, I saw that too, and I laughed. I said, stop him from what? Doing what? Rudy Gobert can't even stop the cats that are playing today. He sure as heck couldn't even stand with no Shaq. No, what happened was he said some craziness like that, and they should have had him drug tested. Should have been drug tested. No one takes Rudy serious. That's why Minnesota's not believable. You keep asking me, do I think they're gonna come out the West? I said, no, not with him on the team. But considering all the people they traded for him, you think they would, but no, he talked like a crackhead. So no, no. I wish he was that good though, because he should be. And Rudy Gobert be tripping. Well, it's because he moves around a lot. What he does is like he's kind of like a Troy Polamalu of basketball guards. A guy that's just antsy and moves the line and he jags. That's what Micah got to do for the Cowboys. The more you move around a lot, that's where he's effective. You place that. But Pat Bev can get away with that because his style will get strips and he'll run by centers. He'll run. You know, when you play zone, you can do that. He's a freelancer. Well, they better because Jason Kidd and Luca need to make a statement. So does Kyrie. So from your post to their minds to their ears, I hope they watching. They need to make a move this year. I mean, let's be realistic. Of course, Dallas versus Denver would be the must-see conference finals. Jokic versus Luca. Come on now, not up for this. That's not up for debate. I mean, you know, so that's my personal opinion. I know Ant with Minnesota because they don't have no because they soft tissue. Tatum is not a deep post player. Brown gets stripped, so he can't drive us so much. Everything is passing. Horford fades. He'll go to hole a little bit. Porzingis is about it, and he's a shooter. They're not a. They don't have a body. They're not a body team. So this is what they have to rely on. But I don't take the Celtics seriously. So you talk to the wrong person. I'm not. You know, I told you that law firm don't work, and I'm gonna tell you again. They need Tatum to be like a. He's a. Tatum is like yeah, he is. Tatum is a junior whopper Steph Curry. Jason Tatum is the Steph Curry like Usher is to Michael Jackson. There's a difference between the junior whopper and the whopper if you eat that stuff. Okay, so that's all I got to say about that. They ain't got no leader there. Ain't worried about it. Yeah, and how Al Horford's gonna play another 30 years because they never can get another cat that can shoot and spot like he can. He don't move. He moved like a baked potato, but that's all they got. So I like Al too, but you know, Boston is so predictable. So yeah, he could fool around and get his Jamie Moyer on, you know. They're not doing nothing. They're not a threat for nothing. And only people who think media types or those people who get this, because they look at Tatum as cha-ching because he's money. But they're not a title team. They're one of those teams that they're gonna find a way to blow it. Too light in the cakes. They're better than a tier. They're tiered up over the other teams, but they're not that deep. Because if Jimmy Butler and Bam can hustle them for two trips to the finals in the last 5 6 years, I'm not worried about him. He's scared too, because he gets stripped and he frails and he starts acting. Because they don't have a man on that team. Okay, ain't no Larry Bird, ain't no Paul Pierce. Okay, they ain't winning. Hear me out. If there was a Kawhi Leonard on that team with a Kawhi, that team would own the East for the next 4 or 5 years. You heard it here first. Ain't no Kawhi on that team, you ain't winning jack. Sometimes I just got to break it down because, I mean, sometimes I don't think people be seeing it for what these guys really are. They're front runners. They don't have that dude. Now, Tatum is more talented than Paul Pierce or Bird. Athleticism, yeah. But this, no, no. Yeah, but he ain't gonna do that play because it slows the game down. And they don't play that kind of defense enough. And without Robert Williams and Marcus Smart, they're not the same team no more. And you need to get Grant Williams back. They're not they're not cut like that. That style didn't work. So now they relying on quick shots, drives, try to hustle and control tempo. He's not in that era. He need that era. If he had a Paul Pierce or Larry Bird, he had somebody who could let him do what he do. Oh yeah, he'd be better for it. But they don't have that dude. They don't have that dude. Him and Brown are not that dude. They both peanut butter and peanut butter. They both jelly and jelly. Yeah, but you gotta have a component. You gotta have somebody. Okay, put it to you like this. Maybe if you could get Jason Kidd out of retirement for them, okay, because you would need a tempo man. Ain't got no tempo, man. Tatum handles the rock on the perimeter. Brown gets his, even in a non-defensive area we're in, he gets his pocket picked like he's walking New York, but open briefcase. Just saying. So they can't afford to slow the game down. They don't have the skill set to slow it down. They'll get punched in the mouth. That's why Miami can sneak them because they wear him down. He gets worn down against Butler now. I'm telling you, you need a point guard or you need somebody to man up who can take that off of you. They don't have that. Their athleticism is what keeps them. But see, it's the facade. It's one of the best facades. Rondo would have to average about 15 to 20 points and about 8 or 9 dimes. That's the only way that would work. And to get Rondo back, you'd have to have Fazingas keeping his butt in the box. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. I can tell you why they're not gonna win. I'm not even a Celtic fan like that, but I can tell you why they're not gonna win. They know they're not gonna win. They're too light in the cakes. It's not the coaching either all the way. It's just that they're just, you know, like Derek White actually plays the way they should, but everything is, fast foody with them. So that's why when they played against Denver and Jokic slowed them down on them, they couldn't do nothing. So I just call it like I see it. That's all. He won't though. He won't. Because Pat Riley wouldn't put up with his antics. First of all, he couldn't be avoiding Jokic, and second of all, he had to play with consistency. And third of all, bring that energy in the postseason. You know, his process is going to take about as long as Little Richard's hair did. Yeah, there's something about talent, and then there's something about knowing how to mold it and fold it, and he doesn't do it. You know, is he a better player than Bam? Duh. But does he have the mindset to take his team to another level? No, no. So so that's how I feel about that. They've been a mess. Donovan don't know what to do as the coach, and they stuck with guys that are just. They got guys on that team that those are kind of guys at the Y that you ooh and ah, but they don't work together. I mean, DeRozan, Levine, Kobe White. I mean, come on now, and Caruso. I mean, it is a mess. And if you found the right squad for any of those guys, it'd be a good fit. But together, it is a colossal. But it's the coach. He sucks. Go ask Too Raw about Mr. Donovan in Chicago. He'll tell you his own take. I saw what Donovan did with OKC. He outwore his welcome. I think he can coach to an extent, but he ain't a finisher. What that meant was they weren't going to trade him for mincemeat. That's what that meant. I know what I got the joke, but he is untouchable because they weren't going to trade him for anything that they saw. No, unless they could get Austin Reeves. That's the only way they would trade him. But Caruso got a chance to kind of be like the white Patrick Beverly. He's got character to him, so but that's why they weren't going to load him for you know to help a team get hooked up. No, unless they're going to get something for him, which you kind of can. No, not like that. He's okay. He one of them white boys that he's streaky, and I know that if he gets hit in the chops and gets exposed, ain't a lot to him. See, I watched that game when he went for that strip against Jokic, and Jokic against real teams with real guard play, he gonna yeah, he's solid as a pro, but he ain't great. Let me tell you why he ain't great. Because LeBron's too old and AD ain't that kind of leader. That's why. Now, I will tell you this: a younger, I can't even say LeBron, but give me someone like Shaq or David Robinson, Duncan, or Elijah. You get Austin Reeves with a guy who commanded the inside, and you kicked it to him with his movement. That turkey would look like he's an all-star. We'd be talking 17 to 22 a night, easily. Because the Lakers don't play no defense and they just happen to have an out of body game against New Orleans, they don't play like that every night. He can be streaky. Defense is suspect. And they play a lot of jive ball. And what I mean by that is it's always trying to, hype him up. It's not consistent. So I'm telling you, I like Mookie's career better, but Alvin Robinson was special. And that's the first time I ever heard anybody mention those two cats. That's a, it got me laughing. I did like Mookie though. Mookie's one of my favorite cats because he would play hard, but I think Allen Robinson got him beat talent wise. But Reeves is one of those guys that see the thing is that he may just be an LA thing. He could go somewhere else and he don't do nothing. I don't know. He was talking about San Antonio, but I don't know. But I'll tell you this though. Reeves would be good with OKC if they could get rid of Giddy. Reeves would be scary with Shea. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But he's a third, fourth wheel, dude. That's when you ask me solid pros like you third, fourth wheel. On a great night, you look like a second. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, OKC him. Oh yeah, because that's what they're missing. Giddy don't score enough. He scores more in the stands. Nick at night, but Nickelodeon. But anyway, another video, no story. That's a no whopper though, because who was Gordon Hayward? I mean, really. If you're Junior Vert Whopper him, who was Gordon Hayward? I mean, really? That's not a compliment. That's a diss to both. But anyway, that's how I look at that though. I like Mookie more, but I think Robinson had the skill set. But I like Mookie though more. Mookie moved me more as a player, but Robinson had the skill set. So that's how I'll answer that. So spray for me. I remember when Allen Iverson was in Slam in '97, and he says, "I don't want Jordan to give me a spray." Spree was it's because of his aggression. I like Cliff Robinson's game, but Spree is one of those woulda, coulda, shoulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda for me, and I think he should have been because he came up big for the Knicks, and he came up. I know Cliff for Portland and everything, but Spree moved me a bit more. Marbury. Francis was a freak though. Don't get it twisted. Had hops. People forget that while Vince Carter and T Mac put on the show at the slam dunk contest, Francis had spring in him. But I didn't really feel his overall game, and I think he shortchanged y'all. But Marbury, I always said that Marbury was like the cleaner version of Iverson. He just didn't stay consistent. He could shoot. He'd be 20 and 8. Just didn't stay consistent, and he ran himself out the league. Vince, for me, in terms of, but no, let me take that back. Take that back. T Mac's gonna get the win. Vince had the more naturalness about him. He had the more natural. But T Mac's for the W because you know, it's tough for me too because Vince was better than him at first. But T Mac had the better overall career. Vince just didn't have the mental, but the skills was more natural than T Mac. T Mac was a better defender, but Vince was, you can make the case, was in 99 through 02, especially 90, he had a window. So I gotta give it to T Mac. This is a toughie. I gotta go with Stockton because he was textbook and he could actually score. And Kid took a while before he got there. Now, you ask me who could fit in better today, I'm gonna tell you Kid. But if you ask me on pure what they did, I gotta go Stockton. I like Kid a lot, but Stockton. I saw a member in '98. I'm gonna share this with you. In '98, there was two instances where the Knicks tried the four-court back press. That means they sent four guys to trap. They did that to Michael Jordan, and the other cat they did it to in '98 was Stockton. Stockton broke out the trap. Stockton was underrated with his handles. He had handles. He could move. He could go left, right, and he could shoot top key. He was a better pure shooter. Kid got better over time. Like he got to the Nets, he kind of wasted some time. But Stockton was textbook. Stockton's the kind of dude he could have probably played 2 or 3 more years. Just gonna say it. So I gotta give it to Stockton. I do like Kid a lot, but you know that's a toughie. It's a New York thing. I gotta give it to Mark Jackson only because he was more consistent. Kenny's attitude kind of ran him out. That's what it comes down to, really. He was more athletic, but Mark was more consistent. Mark made himself fit better. Kenny was kind of showy, and he kind of wore his thing. That's really what it comes down to. You know, Mark was more consistent. You know, Kenny didn't stay consistent. If he stayed consistent, we wouldn't even be having that discussion. He may be in Hall of Fame bound, just like Rod Strickland. Oh, Tim Hardaway Sr. Because with Golden State and Miami, you know, the crossover, everything. Price was like kind of almost a junior Whopper Stockton, but maybe a better shooter to an extent. But Tim Hardaway Jr., you Senior, you can make the case. Uh, Hall of Famer. Great. Just move me more. Sometimes it just comes down to who moves you more. Plus, Price played with a lot of better supporting cast too. The White, because he was more MVP worthy, and he, had, you know, I love Zoe's heart. Zoe's one of the hardest cats, but the White, you know, and he's also woulda, coulda, shoulda. I don't feel that way about Zoe. Not like that. Zoe's like in that really good, very good. The White's one of those guys that should have been great. Should have been a made man. Should have been like the link between Shaq and David Robinson for his generation. Because he has some skill set, but I gotta take the White. And I do love Zoe. Zoe's hard working and play effort. Tough. You know, this is a tough one because Hornacek was good in Utah at he left Philly, but Marley, I always felt Marley with Miami, and I got to give Marley a slight nod because he hit some parking lot shots he could shoot. But Hornacek ain't nothing to sneeze at. He was consistent, and he did fit good, and he played pretty good defense too. I still remember when they had that one All Star game, and he did the 3-point shootout. He did the skills thing, and I thought, well, if he could dunk, he'd have done that too. I was like, Jeff Hornacek, he was going off that 1 week. But I think I give Thunder Dan the edge. But it's close though. It's close. It's close. Oh God, you making me have to dig into the votes with these two because I ain't even Cedric. But he's a bust. He wasted a lot. But he was a better player though. Kendall was decent to me. It was good, but I like Cedric more. He had more overall talent, but he was a head case. I still remember when he went surfing or some mess, and Magic was looking for him. And he asked where he's out surfing or something with the Lakers. He just didn't really. He was half timing, bummy tendencies. Better though. So yeah, because they had Magic on. Oh God, it was on NBC. It was and Magic. It came back to the Lakers, and he was like, "Where your teammate at?" And this turkey's out surfing or some crap. It's on one of them NBC, one of them storylines. I remember that mess too. He just didn't, you'd be surprised. When you work with people who actually pull it, but imagine guys in the league who do stuff like that. Yeah. And he just was, you know, Vin Baker. It's not even for discussion because Vin got the most of his career. He was an all star. Jawan was a serviceable big who played hard and good, but Vin was a better player. Vin was uh Vin was good. He was good. He was good. Yeah, because it was a crazy story. I remember Magic was like lost for words trying to talk about it, and I'm like, that was funny. Oh, that was funny. Well, it was one of them afternoon games or something. And yeah, I don't think he was with Jenny Buss or nothing, but yeah, there've been some interesting characters in the NBA over the years. So, so So, mhm. Yeah, and he would outrun everybody in practice. That's the thing too, because Rodman had a strange. He was almost like an alien. Body could go, body could go. So it was party hard. First one ready. Because I remember they were talking about the one of them. They had to run, and he got in late, and they were looking at him. He was up front of everybody. He was cut from a different cloth. They caught up with him though when he got to the Lakers and in Dallas. The end didn't end well. Yeah, yeah, he was. He took care of himself. Strangely and oddly enough, he was blessed with some good genes. Yeah. So, well, it was a different type of ego, and also those guys weren't on his level. I knew who I was trying to tell you. Jack Haley was the dude that was Rodman's like watcher. They brought him to the Bulls, and he got a ring just to watch Rodman for 1 year. It was crazy. You know, there's some funny NBA stories you can't even imagine. And he was actually there just to watch him, kind of chaperone him. It was crazy. Well, no, he wasn't gonna bully him because he knew how he was cut. Yeah, you never heard. I don't know if you ever heard about that. So Jack Haley actually got brought into the Bulls from the Nets to actually be like a Rodman body watcher. It was hilarious. Yeah, I kid you not. You can Google it. I kid you not. These are some funny stories I remember. I kid you not. He used to be an extra on this one show on Fox, the best. Yep, pretty much. So Stephen A, Chris Rose, John Kruk. Yeah, back in the day, back when Stephen A was a young pup and the Philadelphia beat writer, but the best, show with John Sally was on there. Anyway, Jack Haley got to sit there and he talked about it. I think he died too. Some strange way he died because he was pretty young, but yeah, that's what he got paid to do. Kid you not? You'd be surprised at some of the stuff that goes on in pro sports. So yeah, he looked like it too because his eyes were shot. But you know, so oh, yeah, he did. A lot of these guys did a lot of stuff, and you could tell by their antics. Well, stressful games, tension stuff. So they did a lot of stuff to kind of. I wouldn't be surprised. You almost want to think Russell Westbrook did too, but he's got a lot of bop in him though. But I heard some stuff. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I don't, cause Shaq was horrible to them rookies. I don't. You know, I don't think you can do it today. No way, cause guys now coming in, everybody's young. It's not the way it once was. It's not the way it once was. It's a different NBA, and guys are younger and younger. You're not gonna see a lot of guys. Yeah, he did. You're not gonna see a lot of guys doing some of the stuff that they got away with. Just a different day. So, a lot of them went too far. But you end up getting your credit card maxed out. It's another thing too. Cats came in, don't know how to spend no money. So no, I did a video about that. So my video be coming on a few, and I addressed that. I'm one of the few. I'm not holding it against him. They weren't friends. LeBron gets called a fraud, and he does a lot of fraudulent things and gets called fake. But why would he pretend to be something he's not? Everybody can come on see on record that him and Kobe weren't boys like that. You know, they weren't. The funeral was been a big distraction, and the statue, you know, he's trying to carve out his own niche in L.A. So out of respect, he knows it's not his town. Different because they are Lakers. They are real cemented Lakers. That's the difference. Jerry West was the architect and built it and won. And Kareem, is one of the 4 or 5 greatest Lakers ever. That's different. LeBron's not in that. He's just not. Just the same thing with Anthony Davis. They're not legendary in the purple and gold. I don't have a problem with him not being there. I think it was probably one of the few honest moves he's made since he's been in LA. Because a lot of times he comes across scripted and fake. Don't go to something that you're not part of. That doesn't mean he hasn't hooked Vanessa up with something on the low or the kids or something. I don't have a problem with it at all. Don't pretend what you ain't. Everybody know him and Kobe weren't boys like that. Because Reeves was a Kobe fan. LeBron looked at him as the competition. Plus, LeBron knows that he's not welcome in LA like that, too. He can't just step into that man's clothes. It's different. I get it. I ain't got no problem with it. I get it. I hate it when people make me have to defend LeBron, but I got to defend him in this. Don't be something that you're not. Because it would look like he was cherry picking if he did show up. People would be like, oh, look at him. Well, Magic should have 4 as well, if you want my personal opinion. And Jerry West should have about 3, if you want my personal opinion. Magic should have 4. But, you know, he left a lasting mark. And he was special. So, for the Lakers. And his, on court, off court, you know. So, well, the locker is one thing because it's out of sight, out of view. It's another when you are directly, in the vicinity of people. That's a two different entity because I don't have a problem getting the. I think if he shows his face at the ceremony or because he's got to live hear that, he'll actually have some people say you don't belong because you'll never be Kobe. He has his own legacy. His legacy is in Cleveland, and he had an impact in Miami to extent, you know, but he's not really LA. It's a different mindset, different thing. So as long as he keeps that same energy, borderline getting his jersey retired, I don't know about that. Ain't gonna be no statues out in LA. So, but Bus would have been happy to get him, but I don't think he would have hang on to him too long because he knows that they need AD pieces. Well, she's Spencer Dinwiddie ain't no young, Spencer Dinwiddie ain't the young buck though. And she ain't chasing the right young buck because they're not getting no new talent there. So they stuck with leftovers. So, but they're doing the best they can. They are what they are. They are their record. He's solid, but they ain't winning no ring with him. They're not a contender team, and that's the reality that Berlinski's trying to say. Yeah, they might snatch a cat here and there, but they're not gonna get a championship type of cat. So, so them Dwitty, bad boy Pistons come to mind from my time. Um, Pre the Knicks of the '70s defense, Portland Trailblazers '77. Um, I know you like throw them Knicks 92 Knicks up. They were good. Um, See, when you talk defenses, there are teams that come up that didn't necessarily win. I thought that you know um, Utah has some good defenses. You that was some ugly defense at them places and hold your butt to 80 points. Different era, different time. That's funny when you go back into that, but it was a different. I like it when teams had identity, you know. But they were good defenses in the '90s. But that doesn't mean the basketball was necessarily that memorable either. It's just that that's what David Stern them wanted. They wanted the 82, 79 games. That happens at halftime now. So it all depends on what they want. But most of the best defenses I'm gonna say did steer around Detroit. Most of them would pretty much be on the East Coast, if I'm honest. So Detroit, New York, Boston, you know, Chicago. I think Tibbs' defense was good with the Bulls when Derrick Rose was there. It wasn't a bad move if they had somebody from Miami that could counter with some scoring, but Tim Hardaway and Zoe weren't the answer. Again, remember what I was telling you about the Celtics right now. It's similar, but in a different way. They got scores. So if you could have put a Jason Tatum with that Miami team, that would have leveled it up. They only needed was a guy who could score. That's how you beat them. You had to be able to have a score. The stuff that you call cherry picking, what you needed. It was tough because they could slow down the tempo. But the problem is that the Bulls had more perimeter guys who could create and score. That's the difference. And the Bulls played tough defense. Miami did too, but they didn't score no points. They were great. They were great. So was the Spurs too. Because don't get it twisted. Popovich's defenses was top dog. Robinson and Duncan was swatting things against the Nets. Very underrated. Very underrated. So I gotta go eat in a couple minutes. So get ready for this game or something. So I'm gonna chill. It's great. Mm-hmm. He was. They came up big. They came up big. They came up big. He is underrated. Came up big. I'll be back longer tomorrow when we watch check this out and check everything out. It's great that you cats came on. Appreciate it. I stayed on for like an hour plus, and I wanted to go ahead and do that. We'll have a full whatever y'all want to talk about tomorrow, and we'll go about the game and whatnot. We'll break it all down. But I'm gonna go ahead and sign off and peace out. Appreciate you cats coming through. Appreciate the great questions as always. The debates. We should have a real interesting one tomorrow. So bring them questions tomorrow. Bring it. Bring it tomorrow. Peace the best. Stay warm. Stay up. I'm out. Later.